Hey everybody, it is ASIC Eric, and today is the final work to do on the Camaro before we drop it down off the rotisserie. So I need to put the RideTech 4-link brackets on here. I'm going to try and piece together all the RideTech stuff into a series of videos ultimately when everything is done. So I'm going to try and save all this footage and go back and put it together in a seamless way. Because all the RideTech stuff is going to be coming over various episodes as time goes on here. Because what has to happen is 4-link brackets and stuff are going on now just because it's easier to do it while it's in the air. But what I have to do is I have to drop the car on the ground, put the wheels on the ground because I have no axle. Then I have to measure the distance between the inside of the wheels to figure out how big the rear end needs to be. Then I need to order the rear end. Then I need to attach the brackets to the rear end for the 4-link. Then I have to send the rear end back to Mosier so they can weld it all up and put the back brace on and all that stuff and then send it back. Then I get to install the rear end with all the brackets and everything. And then the front suspension and stuff, I'll do that in the next week or two. But anyway, it's going to be a mess of stuff, so I'll piece all that together in videos later. But let's go ahead and document this today because I'm not doing anything else worth documenting, so I might as well do it. And technically everything I'm doing here with the 4-link stuff I can do later. I don't need to do this right now. But this part just looked like it would be easier to do here. Let's see. So here's where the brackets go. I can't see very well, there's a lot of glare in here, but this guy, where does it go? I'm sure I'm looking at the right one here. Wrong side. I'm consistently picking up the wrong pieces, so that's good. Alright, so this has to go here. That's where that wants to go. It's like that. You can see that. It's black on black, so it's kind of hard to see anything, but first thing that I can see is I got a gap of about ½ an inch from here to this. So I have to beat on this a little bit to get this to come out. The old back of this car was pretty messed up back here, so that's kind of not a surprise. So let me go ahead and pop this back a little bit, and then we can get this guy screwed in. So that actually didn't require very much persuasion at all, so just wanted to pop back into that position, so I think that's okay. So the way this works, the two front, I wish I could see anything here. The two front holes here, if your car has a sway bar, or had a sway bar, you already have the bolt holes for that, so that's good. But all the other holes you're going to have to drill, and they come with self-threading screws. So I'm going to go ahead and cinch up these two here and then mark where all the other holes have to go, and then we've got to get those drilled. So let me cinch this up first. Alright, I think we can get a better view of things sitting down in here. So here's the frame rail, the back of the car here. So we got these two guys cinched up here. And then this is a support point here that goes into the back, the rear seat well right there. So there's a plate that goes on the other side, sandwiches there. This is the upper control arm mount right here. And this is for the shock absorber, if I'm not mistaken. So we can see all the various points here where there's bolt holes. Nothing up there, here. So I'm gonna get a Sharpie out and mark all of those. And then we're going to take a punch and then start drilling. Alright, so now we take our punch here, center those. Hopefully get a good starting point for our drill bit. See, that's right in that a hole right there. Oh well. Alright, so I'm going to drill a small pilot hole first on all of these. Alright, so once those pilot holes are done, then they call for a 5/16 bit. We'll do that next. One of these holes, this one right here is kind of tough because you can't really come in on a straight angle because of this bracket right here. So I hope that one doesn't turn out to be a problem. The drill bit kind of walked a little bit over that way when I was working on it. So, alright, let's see how this goes here. You guys in view? Yeah. Trying not to apply too much pressure. It's a new bit, but I don't want to round it off right off the get-go here. Alright, we got all those done. And so these were a 5/16 bit, and then here you use a 3/8 bit for those holes. Alright, so a couple of interesting things already. In reading the directions, they don't call for washers on these guys, but as I was looking through the parts list, there's the right amount of these as there are for bolts there, so one would kind of suspect you're supposed to use these. So I already put the bolts in, but I'm going to take them out and put the washers on. The other thing is they give you 10 of these self-forming bolts, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones that you need to tap on each side, but then there's the other 2 holes where they said you might have the sway bar. Well, I don't have a sway bar anymore, and the bolts are gone, and they don't give you the bolts, so I don't have the 2 bolts that'll go there. I was using these, and then I realized I was going to run out, so anyway. And this one here, as I suspected, it was really hard to get in there and get that. I ended up having to oval out the hole a little bit on this thing, and it ended up going in a little cockeyed, so that one's really not all that great. But hopefully the other ones will hold it in place. So these 2 here, I'll just have to wait until I can get the proper hardware to go in there, which is fine. They're easy to, they're pretty accessible. So I'm going to go ahead and put washers on all of these and then snug it all up, and then we'll move on to this part up here. Alright, and don't get too aggressive trying to tighten these down. I already stripped this one off. I didn't really think I was putting that much pressure on it, but it's stripped. So, I don't know, maybe someday I can go back in and tack some weld or something in there in that hole, tighten that up. I'm just going to leave it for now though. This whole assembly, according to RideTech, you can weld this whole thing in if you want. I'm not going to, and it would be really hard to get the welder up inside all these edges here anyway, so you pretty much only end up welding this bottom part. I'm not really sure how helpful that would be, but anyway, so those are all done. All those screws are in, bolts, and now we're going to put this one in here. Alright, for these guys, these plates come in from the other side. I put all this stuff in here and then drilled the holes. That's not the way to do it. All this stuff has moved since where I started, so after all of this stuff is all cinched down, then run the 3/8 drill through here and mark your holes, because it's going to be in the wrong place. So anyway, I just came through in the bottom here and re-drilled the holes. So alright, and these guys here are secured with a washer and nylox There. None of this stuff has torque specs on it, so it's all kind of guesswork. I said I already stripped out one of the things, so I'm being kind of careful here. I don't want to over torque anything and end up stripping more stuff, so a lot of guesswork on that part, but I'm only going to use a 3/8 inch ratchet to torque stuff, and that should pretty much prevent me from over torquing anything, I think. So let me get all those cinched up, and this side of the car is done. Like I said, I need to go get bolts for those. Alright, so when you're done with that, this is what you should see on the inside of the car. I'm looking down through the rear window here. Let me show you the side view. So if you were inside your car, you'd see that. So those guys are bolted in place right there. Okay, so driver's side done, onto the passenger side. Alright, this side largely went off without a hitch, with the exception of this corner right here. As you can see, I had to abuse that pretty hard from the other side, or that plate goes right here, and this corner was rounded right there so the plate wouldn't sit, so I had to beat that into submission. As you can see, that destroyed my beautiful paint job under here, so that will need to be touched up. I'm going to wait on that till all the 4-link hardware is in, because I don't know what other things might come up as I'm putting it in. I just may be scratching things and who knows what, so I'll just wait on that and touch that up. So one of the reasons I went with the satin black under the car here is because I saw this RideTech hardware and I was like, ooh, I like it. So you can see it matches. Looks pretty nice all sitting up under there, I believe. So it's nice and seamless. It looks like it's supposed to be there. Everything looks pretty good. So that's going to do it for today. I'm going to spend some more time getting the car ready to drop. Just lower it, see if I can lower it down on the rotisserie and stuff. Last time I tried to lower it, I couldn't get it to lower, so I'll play around with that a little bit. For this one stripped bolt here, if you guys have any ideas on the best way to tackle that, if I should just take it out and try and put some welds on the frame rail or helicoil or what or something, I don't know, because it's only, you know, whatever 18 gauge sheet metal or whatever this stuff is, so there's not a lot of thread depth there, so I don't think I can use a helicoil or something like that in it. I suppose I could get a bigger bolt. This is a 3/8, I think, so I could go up to the next size, a 1/2 inch bolt or something maybe. But let me know what you guys think, the best way to tackle that. I think probably going to the bigger bolt, that's probably the best way to do it. But anyway, so this is all done under here. It never gets old. Yes. Ta-da! It's finished. Happy joy. So my dad's coming over tomorrow, so if all goes well, this thing will be sitting on the ground next time you see it. Like I said, except for the exception of that one bolt, everything else is done. You can see the inside of the car here with the 4-link brackets. They're all set, good to go. Alright, anyway, take it easy everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.